Thank you. Now we move on with the debate. And the next speaker, Mr. Zahradil, in his 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very entertaining today in the House. There is still, let me remind you, a lot of us who experienced communism and who since that have made enormous and swift progress to prepare ourselves for the membership in the European Union. We were rightly made to prove ourselves, to prove that we met the Copenhagen criteria, to prove that we enjoyed fully functioning market economies, and so on and so on. But unfortunately, this level of scrutiny was not applied to some European countries when entering the Eurozone. Why? Mr. President, simply because it was constructed as a political and not as an economic project, and therefore criteria were ignored, figures were changed to bring in countries that were not yet ready, and that's the core of the problem. And now we are living out to the consequences, and we are now at a very turning point. And believe me, despite the fact that most members of my group are from non-Eurozone member countries, we do not want euro to fail. But I also do not think that it can be defended at any cost. We are surely on the final pages of the bailout chapter. This European Council should send a clear signal, and this is that if someone's position is unsustainable from within the Eurozone, then, unless they make dramatic changes, the Eurozone should not be hesitant to raise the possibility of restructuring their debt, or even, however cruel it might seem, leaving the club. If you don't do that, Mr. President, I'll tell you what happens next. Next time, your opponents, or rather opponents of your successor, will not be nice and decent Eurosceptics, like for instance me, but real nasty anti-Europeans. And why? Because they will be elected there by angry German taxpayers, by desperate French or Dutch private entrepreneurs, who will be fed up with paying others' debts. And I know, Mr. President, that neither me nor you want this to happen. So let's act according to this. And Mr. President, in the same manner, please, I ask you, stop to use, or rather misuse, every crisis as an opportunity to pursue further more and more supranationalist agenda, something like fiscal union or tax union, because it leads us nowhere. This is not a crisis of Europe. This is just a crisis of one wrong, outdated concept of the European integration, and that's all. Pretty good.